Hi, my name's Yusuf and I'm part of the DataSnipper team here in Amsterdam. We've built our software DataSnipper that's aimed to help external auditors. For this video, what we're going to do is show you a training on DataSnipper. If you have any questions, I'm going to show you where you can ask them. So what is DataSnipper? Well, high level, DataSnipper is an intelligent audit tool within Excel. And what we try to do at DataSnipper is to automate the repetitive tasks in audit and at the same time add to audit quality with automatic cross-referencing and easy searching through source documents. We see four main use cases for the DataSnipper platform. The first, of course, is automating the test of detail. DataSnipper helps extract and cross-reference documentation to your audit sample. There's also a strong use case to use DataSnipper to document your test of controls and walkthroughs, because DataSnipper allows you to document everything in one place, and with this automatic cross-referencing, you can review the workbooks much easier. This also adds to audit quality and the output. And finally, we also want to help you tie through financial statements by, for instance, checking mathematical accuracy and also internal consistency. Now let's open up Excel and show you some worked examples. So in this example, I've got a normal Excel workbook with some general ledger data. You can see I have the DataSnipper add-in installed right here. We can access it through the Excel ribbon. The first thing that you might notice is that all the icons are still greyed out, and that's because the first step in using DataSnipper is always to import documents into the Excel workbook. So we can just click Import Documents up here, and I select the documents that I want to work with. It's good to know that DataSnipper supports all types of documents, whether that's PDFs, images, scans, .msg files, zip folders, RTF, HTML, Word, Excel, and a lot more. We open these documents into the tool, and the tool will first assess the documents. If there's any documents that don't have text in them, it's going to ask us to run text recognition. And that's the OCR component of DataSnipper, which allows you to recognize text in those documents that don't have any in it yet. Now that we've imported the documents, we can start using DataSnipper, and the first thing that we want to do is search for the right document. We can use the Smart Search functionality by clicking into a cell in Excel, for example, the first amount up here in E4, and now you can see that the search bar automatically fills with that value, which allows me to easily search through this document. In this example, we can see that the invoice, delivery note, and bank statement are all corresponding to the same amount. Once we've located the right document, we can now start using DataSnipper to link and extract information from the document into Excel. Before showing you how to automatically do this, I'll show you the manual snipping because this is the base part of our product and it's a great part of the tool. The first manual snip we're going to use is the text snip, which is the blue icon, and this allows you to extract text or values from the document into Excel. So if we go back into the document here, we can see that we can select the total, and by clicking and dragging over it, DataSnipper instantly extracts this into the Excel workbook and adds the cross-reference for us to the source. Something else we can do is use the sum snip, which is the yellow icon right here. This can add up values on a document. If we go back to the invoice and want to know the total of these three items, then the only thing I have to do is click and drag using my yellow snip, and then once I select those three values at once, DataSnipper adds them up in the sum and displays the total in Excel while adding the cross-reference again. If you'd like to add up values which are not next to each other, you can just hold down Control and reference multiple snips to the same cell. This also works across different documents. We can easily move on to a new document with the search function again, and if we keep snipping, what DataSnipper always does is put those snips on the next free cell to the right hand side. That was text snipping and sum snipping, and in between we also have the validation and exception snips. We can use those snips to link a specific document or documents to an Excel cell without extracting information. So let's say here we have the delivery note, and I just want to show my reviewer that I've checked that there is a signature, and that's okay. I can use the validation snip, and DataSnipper outputs a green tick mark and a green cross-reference in the document. I can also use the opposite, which is the exception snip, to show that something is off, or we might want to check it with our client. Additionally, for those snips that you might want to reference several documents with, you can hold Control and therefore make multiple snips to the same cell. For example, here I've got the signature and I want to add a reference to a signature sheet where it says who the person is and why they can sign. Again, we can just hold down Control and add multiple references to the same cell. If a reviewer now clicks on this, it will show them that it's validated, linking the signature sheet to the actual signature on the document. If we now go back to the beginning of this line, you can see that it's really easy to just click through these cells, and directly on the right hand side you can see the right document and the place in the document where the information is obtained from. This makes it very easy to review workbooks, and once they've been prepared with DataSnipper and these manual snips, our clients use the most to document test of controls, walkthroughs and contract reviews. So that's manual snipping now, and we're going to move on to the exciting automation features of DataSnipper called document matching. So what I've done here is opened up another Excel workbook containing a selection for expense testing. We have the amount, date and invoice number of a general ledger, and we can now use DataSnipper to automatically match the right document to the right line in here. Just import documents, and in this case we import all the invoices belonging to this section into the DataSnipper tool. After this is completed, we can then access document matching right here in the automation section. DataSnipper will automatically look for the right document. The only thing we need to provide it with is some information, for example, the header row, the input and the output columns. So the input column is the column containing the information I want DataSnipper to use and look for in the right document, like all the amounts here in column A. Once located, DataSnipper will make the snip automatically, and it needs to drop the snips into an empty column. For instance, for the amount, we're going to make our output column E. I can then move on and add a second row, because just searching for the amounts here doesn't necessarily get us the best results, because the same amount is in here multiple times, so we want to combine inputs together. So instead of only looking for the amounts, I'm also going to add the date in column B and provide an empty output columns for those dates as well. DataSnipper will then combine the combination into a unique search, so it will search for that document containing both this amount and this date, making sure that we hit the right documents. Then there's a third step. I'm also interested to learn if the invoice number on the document is the same as in the general ledger, so I'm adding that as a third input and output column. We can now click Match All Rows, and DataSnipper will automatically go through the documents and look for the combination of selected inputs. As you can see, it's now finished, and we can now click on these cells and see that DataSnipper automatically snipped the information, and in that way we've connected the right document to the right line. By doing so, DataSnipper has also concluded that the only information in the document is the same as the information in the general ledger. The only thing you have to do now as a preparer is look for those cells which have an exception. So here we can see that there's an empty cell, meaning that DataSnipper was not able to find the amount. It still found the date and the invoice number, so we can just click on one of those outputs to go to the documents. In the invoice, we can see a total of €1,211, while the general ledger data states 1,210. This is the reason why DataSnipper didn't match it, and it's now up to the professional judgment of the preparer to assess this. For instance, you can use the snips from the beginning again, like an exception snip for example, to say maybe I need to look into it with the client, or you can just add a validation or text snip if it's okay for you. If you already know beforehand that your specific matching procedure is going to contain a lot of small rounding differences, then you can also allow a deviation. Simply go back to the document matching menu and click on the dotted line here for some extra options. For example, I can add an allowed difference here of up to 1. By saving, you can now see that the colour changes to green, and this also lets the reviewer know that you've updated an option. If we now redo our test, you'll see that DataSnipper also matches row 21 because it now lies within the allowed deviation. We can also do multiple way matches, i.e. matching multiple groups of documents to the same Excel data by grouping them together. In our example here, I'm not just interested in the invoice, but I also want to find out the payment of these invoices in the bank statement. And to do so, I'm going to create 2 document groups. Firstly, I'm going to make a document group with all of the invoices, and I'll make a second one that contains the bank statement, which we import directly into that group and save it right here. I can now select both of these groups for a new test, a 2-way match between the invoice and the bank statement, and I can also match the general ledger. For the invoices, I want to do the same as in the first example and match the amounts, dates and invoice number. But now I also want to go through the bank statement, and DataSnipper will match on the amounts and the invoice number. We won't take into account the dates right here because the date of payment usually differs from the invoice date, so I'm not going to search for that simply by not providing an output column. I can now click Match All Rows again, and DataSnipper will perform this three-way reconciliation fully automatically. As you can see, it's analysing and outputting the results, and it's now also found the payment in the bank statement right here. You can also see that this is just one large document containing 3150 multiple times, and still DataSnipper's snipping the right line. That's because we also provided the invoice number, and DataSnipper relates the two to each other, so it finds the invoice number and snips the 3150, which is closest to it. Of course, you don't have to use the invoice number. You can use any data that you have, for instance, the vendor name, date of payment, or bank account number. You can also add as many groups as you need for your specific audit test. For instance, here, I could add delivery notes, batch payments, or any other proof that's relevant for your specific test. After you're finished with your review or audit, you can easily remove documents, either all at once, through a drop-down list, or by removing pages that don't have snips or exception snips. We can also redact text for any sensitive client data. So this is DataSnipper's document matching, which is one of the automated parts of DataSnipper that really helps you automate your test of details or vouchering procedures. Our clients use this most on procedures like expense testing, revenue testing, inventory testing, or after-date payment of debtors. There are a few more things that I want to show you in DataSnipper. The first one is the DataSnipper table snip. Let's say that you have a big table and you'd like to extract it into Excel. You can see that here I've selected a table snip, and I can then click and drag over this table to extract it directly into Excel. You can also adjust it by removing and adding columns, clicking on the plus and minus, and it also works for longer tables. So here I've got a 20-page long public registry. By simply clicking on these three dots and then clicking to repeat the table snip over multiple pages, I can then redo that table snip over the rest of the document and bring that data into Excel. I can now use any Excel functions like filtering or pivot tables. We also have the DataSnipper Find All Sums function here in the automation section. So if you have an annual report or any other financial statement document and you'd like to check all of the sums in the documents are correct, you can simply click Find All Sums and DataSnipper will analyze the whole document for you. DataSnipper will look for all of the parts of the sums and the total, and if it finds an accurate sum, it's going to highlight these for you and put it into Excel. It's also preparing the output right here, as you can see. It's going to go through a 250-page document, and it's already finished. Now, if I click through the cells, you can see that there's a sum snip on the parts of the sum and a text snip on the corresponding total. It's only going to do this if it's accurate, so if it's not accurate, it won't make a snip. For example, here we can see a white space, meaning that DataSnipper did not find the accurate sum. Now you can just use the manual sum snip to check it for yourself, and indeed it's 373, but here the total is 374, so that's why DataSnipper hasn't snipped it. Maybe we can do a validation snip to say it's only a difference of 1, and we approve this difference. We also have DataSnipper's form extraction function. With DataSnipper form extraction, what we can do is extract information from documents with a similar format. So here, for example, I've imported 12 different US tax forms, and we want to extract information from all of them. I'm simply going to select the name, the security number, and the total income, and I've made 3 snips, so you can already see that DataSnipper is extracting this from all the other forms as well. If we're satisfied, we can just click on Extract, and DataSnipper outputs the snips into our Excel workbook, and we now have the Excel data and the cross-reference to the source. I'll finish off the training just by showing a couple of other helpful features of DataSnipper. Firstly, we have the Learn icon. We can click on Learn and just see lessons for everything in DataSnipper. For instance, if you're doing your first document matching, you can click on the document matching video, and right here you'll be taken to our learning page where we have articles and small videos on how to use the tool. We also have a whole section which is dedicated to use cases, so specific audit procedures. Finally, we have the feedback button, and this is our feedback portal where we try to post all of the things that we're working on, but we also allow you to send in your own requests to improve our product. If you send a request, you can also click on it and see our reply. You can also go to the changelog to see any new versions which are coming up. We hope you've enjoyed this training session, Please check out our knowledge base for further information. Happy snipping!